Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. It is Sunday. That means we are bringing you the weekly recap of all the top stories throughout the week from December 8th of 2025, all conveniently located in one location. I hope you enjoy the show. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on Monday. And remember, the Constitution matters.
All right, lawyer.
As first on the docket, Bryan Kohberger reportedly seeking contact with other serial killers. That's right. So, sources familiar with conditions at the Idaho Maximum Security Institution report that Bryan Kohberger, the former criminology doctoral student convicted of the 2022 stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students, has attempted to establish communication with notorious serial killers incarcerated across the United States. I guess he's trying to finish some PhD work, working on that doctorate. So according to this guy, Chris McDonough, a retired homicide detective and director of the Cold Case Foundation, who maintains contacts within the correctional system, says Kohberger has made deliberate efforts to reach out to other high-profile violent offenders. Now, according to this McDonough guy, he indicated that Kohberger views himself as intellectually superior to most fellow inmates and has actively sought correspondence both inside and outside of the facility, though it remains unclear whether any sustained connections have been formed. Now, since entering the Idaho Department of Corrections system approximately 4 months ago, Kohberger has been housed in J Block, a restrictive housing unit that limits him to 1 hour of recreation per day and keeps him physically separated from the general population for 23 hours. Now, despite these protective measures, which were implemented due to the high-profile nature of his case, Kohberger has submitted multiple formal grievances alleging harassment, threats, and substandard treatment by both staff and inmates. And let's not forget, like we talked about last week, the complaints have centered on dietary issues, particularly the quality of the fruit provided to accommodate his vegan diet. Sources note that food preparation and distribution in the facility are largely handled by inmates, potentially exacerbating tensions. Now, Kohberger has also reportedly expressed dissatisfaction with the size of his cell because, when you're in prison, you complain about those types of things, and the overall conditions of J Block, with some suggestions that he has referenced the possibility of self-harm if not transferred to less restrictive housing. Officials are treating cautiously as a possible attempt to manipulate things. Could you imagine Bryan Kohberger being manipulative? During the upcoming holiday season, inmates in restrictive housing, including Kohberger, will receive limited seasonal accommodations. A spokesperson for the Idaho Department of Corrections confirmed that residents of long-term restrictive units have minimal access to special programs due to security protocols requiring shackling during the movements. However, a charitable initiative known as Cookies for Corrections, organized by the St. Vincent de Paul, will deliver donated cookies, including nationally recognized brands, to all state correctional facilities, ensuring that Kohberger and others in his unit receive the holiday treats. The standard Christmas menu offers a turkey roast or a vegan stuffed pepper entree, accompanied by plant-based sides and desserts. While correctional officials emphasize that the safety and security remain the top priorities for managing high-profile offenders like Mr. Kohberger, whose case continues to attract significant public attention. No formal response from Kohberger's legal team regarding the reported outreach attempts to contact other serial killers or institutional complaints were available by the time we recorded this video. What can you say, ladies and gentlemen? Bryan Kohberger is going to be with us forever. All right. He's going to be the Charlie Manson of 2020s, I guess, the 2020s. Okay. He's going to be with everyone for the next 50 years, right? Just like Charles Manson was in custody for 50 years when he died. That's what Bryan Kohberger is going to be. He's going to be making headlines every couple of weeks or months, depending on what he's complaining about today. The reality of it is he is a convicted quadruple killer who I think is a total narcissist and will do what he can to show that he is smarter than everybody else there in the prison and show his superiority over the other inmates as well. It goes on. It goes on. And just think about it. What kind of a narcissist, assuming these reports are true, would actually reach out to other people convicted of serious crimes. For what possible reason other than sit and gloat about what you have done? Luigi Mangione. That's right. A loaded firearm magazine concealed inside a pair of underwear in Luigi Mangione's backpack provided the decisive confirmation for Pennsylvania police that they had apprehended the prime suspect in the fatal shooting of United Healthcare chief Bryan Thompson. This is according to testimony presented today in a Manhattan courtroom. Now, the hearing, part of a pretrial effort by Mangione's defense team to suppress key physical evidence, instead offered prosecutors an opportunity to showcase body cam footage and witness accounts that portray the arrest and subsequent search as lawful and procedurally routine. So what took place? All right. The critical moments at the Pennsylvania McDonald's. So we know Luigi Mangione was taken into custody on December 9th, 2024 at a McDonald's restaurant in Altoona, Pennsylvania, approximately 230 miles west of New York City. The arrest followed multiple 911 calls from employees and patrons who recognized Mangione from widely circulated surveillance images as the Manhattan gunman. The Altoona police officer, Christy Wasser, a 19-year veteran, testified that she began an immediate search of Mangione's black backpack while he was being handcuffed on initial charges of forgery and providing false identification. Among the first items removed were food. She discovered a fully loaded 9mm magazine wrapped in a damp underwear, an object that prompted an audible exclamation from the officer on the scene that Mangione was, quote, 100%, end quote, the wanted fugitive. Officer Wasser explained that department policy mandates prompt examination of an arrestee's possessions at the scene, both for officer safety and to inventory property. We talked about this. These are the exceptions to the warrantless exception. This is why more than likely the evidence is not going to get suppressed. Now, the officer stated that she was particularly vigilant for potential explosives, though no evacuation of the restaurant occurred. She later located the suspected murder weapon, a 9mm pistol equipped with a suppressor, along with a notebook containing writings prosecutors described as demonstrating Mangione's hostility towards the healthcare industry. And additional items included a knife, zip ties, encrypted digital devices, and handwritten notes about possible escape routes and ammunition, inscribed with the words delay, deny, and depose, phrases prosecutors link to criticism of the insurance practices. So what is the dispute about, right? So defense attorneys contend that the warrantless searches violated Mangione's Fourth Amendment protections and that any evidence obtained, including the firearm, ammunition, suppressor, notebook, and digital devices, should be excluded from both the New York state prosecution and a parallel federal case in which the government is seeking the death penalty. Now, this is taking place in state court, and assuming the federal case goes forward, they'll relitigate these motions in federal court. Totally different judges, different sovereigns, same basic legal standards for sure. But if you win one, you're going to win in the other. And if you lose one, you're probably going to lose in the other as well. Let's be realistic. So anyway, the prosecutors countered that the initial search was lawful incident to an arrest, and that a Pennsylvania judge approved warrants hours later, authorized continued seizure and transfer of the evidence to the New York police. Additional evidence that we learned. On Monday evening, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office released photographs of seized items, including the backpack, pistol, ammunition, and handwritten notes containing phrases such as check Pittsburgh red eyes, keep momentum, FBI slower overnight, and instructions to alter appearance post-crime. So, Mangione appeared healthy during his Monday session after a postponement last week due to illness, and he has entered a not guilty plea in both jurisdictions stemming from the December 4th, 2024 shooting, death of Bryan Thompson outside the Midtown Midtown Manhattan hotel hosting United Healthcare's investor conference. Now, the pretrial suppression hearing is expected to continue this week as the court determines whether the evidence will be admissible when Mangione ultimately faces trial for what prosecutors have characterized as a targeted assassination carried out by a masked gunman who fired multiple rounds into Thompson's back before fleeing on a bicycle. Now, Mangione remains detained without bail pending resolution of both the state and federal charges. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, hey, I'm a defense guy. I get it. You gotta file these motions. You got to say that the search was unlawful in violation of the Fourth Amendment. It was an illegal search and seizure, and therefore everything should be suppressed. I get it. But search incident to arrest, completely lawful. You have inventory search as well. Got to make sure you inventory the property so the officers don't get accused later of stealing something, right? And then you also have inevitable discovery. He was in custody. And so even if they didn't look at the bag then, they were also going to get it when they went to the police station to inventory the bag, once again, to make sure nothing gets stolen. Did they have reasonable suspicion to make contact? Yes, I think they did. And remember, you can always tell what the defense thinks is a problem based upon the motions that they're filing. What are the motions they're filing? Ooh, the gun, the suppressor, the notes, the plan afterwards, all that stuff. Bad for the defense. They know it. That's why they're trying to get it suppressed. Not trying to be an old curmudgeon here. I wish Luigi Mangione the best of luck, but we give it to you straight, ladies and gentlemen. This is a tough case for the defense. It really is. And there's a reason why they want all that stuff to go away. And Luigi Mangione, being some, young, active-looking guy that all the women think are really cute, is not going to make the evidence go away unless all of those women are seated on his jury. All right. And regardless, I'll tell you, insurance companies are the worst organizations in the world. I despise them. All right. Who hasn't had a claim where you had insurance and they say, oh, sorry, we won't cover you on this one. Or, oh, you don't have enough coverage on this. Or they deny until you get a lawyer involved. Insurance companies are the worst. I despise insurance companies, all right? But it doesn't mean you can go around shooting people. Now, we'll give Luigi Mangione the presumption of innocence because that's what he is entitled to, ladies and gentlemen. But let's get realistic. There's a reason why the defense wants that all to go away. Things got a little spicy at the grand jury proceedings in regards to the death of Celeste Rivas. So some details have emerged from an ongoing grand jury investigation into the death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were discovered back in September of this year inside a Tesla vehicle, which was registered to singer David, spelled with a 4. His real name is David Anthony Burke. And if he is charged, and we're not saying he will be, but if he's charged, that's how it will appear on the charging documents, David Anthony Burke. Anyway, the case, which has obviously drawn some public attention, continues to unfold amid reports of witness non-cooperation and heightened prosecutorial scrutiny. So what's going on? So on September 8th of 2025, the Los Angeles Police Department recovered the partially dismembered body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez from the front trunk of an abandoned Tesla bearing Texas license plates. The vehicle had been impounded in Hollywood after being left in the Hollywood Hills area, and then police were alerted to a foul odor emanating from the car, which had been at the impound lot for several days. The remains were contained in a bag and described by sources as partially frozen and in an advanced state of decomposition. Now, there's been some conflicting reports on that, even from the Los Angeles Police Department, that said that wasn't true. So we'll have to wait and see what the true facts turn out to be. So like I said, conflicting reports have surfaced regarding the condition of the body. Some sources initially claimed the remains were decapitated and severed into pieces, potentially complicating the determination of the cause of death by the medical examiner. However, the Los Angeles Police Department subsequently clarified to local media that the body was partially dismembered, but not decapitated, and disputes surrounding claims of freezing remain, somewhat unresolved. But law enforcement from the Los Angeles Police Department and the District Attorney's Office have formally identified David as a suspect in what they have characterized as a murder investigation. You think? At the time, well, I guess, maybe she could have been like the Brian Walsh case, right? Suffered a medical emergency, and instead of calling for help, let's just put her in the trunk of the car, partially dismember her, right? Makes complete sense, does it not? Anyway, at the time of the discovery, the 20-year-old artist was on tour promoting his debut studio album, and sources indicate that that David initially cooperated with investigators, but has since ceased cooperation. No formal charges have been filed against him, and representatives for David have declined to comment publicly on the matter. Obviously, he's entitled to the presumption of innocence, although he's a suspect, he has not been charged. Now, additional reporting suggests the involvement of at least one other individual, potentially in the disposal of the body, though no further details about this second suspect have been officially confirmed. So what happened with the grand jury? So the Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman is presenting evidence to the grand jury. Recent proceedings have been marked by, some tension, particularly surrounding testimony from individuals connected to David's management. So Robert Morgenroth, general manager of Mogul Vision's record label and David's manager, testified over multiple days, including a session on Monday, December 8th. Now, during questioning, Silverman reportedly pressed Morgenroth on why he did not contact law enforcement about learning of circumstances related to the discovery regarding the body. And according to accounts overheard in the courthouse hallway, so take that for what it's worth, Morgenroth responded that he did not believe it was his responsibility to notify police and expressed a desire to prioritize continuing David's tour schedule. Further complications arose this week when an unidentified female witness, represented by the same attorney as Morgenroth, and the attorney is Evan Jennes, Jenness, failed to appear for scheduled testimony. The deputy district attorney, Silverman, informed the attorney that she intended to seek a body attachment order, which is a order to go have the marshals pick her up and bring her towards the grand jury. So, and as of December 11th, the grand jury continues its deliberations, obviously in secret, with no indictment publicly announced as of yet. The case remains active, and authorities have not released additional details about potential motives or the exact timeline of the events leading to the death of Rivas. Now, obviously, we're dealing with celebrity figures and uncooperative witnesses. That is normal when you basically have a grand jury investigation. It's not uncommon for people to not want to appear before the grand jury because, their friends, their family are involved, and they don't want to be the ones that basically gets somebody indicted. But that's the whole purpose of the grand jury, is to force people to show up and answer questions under oath, subject to the pains and penalties of perjuries if they lie, and also contempt if they refuse to show up. So it's interesting how a manager of David, I wasn't so concerned about, letting somebody know about a dead body wasn't my concern. I was focusing on the tour. Okay. I mean, I guess you have no duty to report a crime, but you would think, you'd probably want to do the right thing if you know somebody may be involved in a murder. We'll continue to follow that one. We'll see if an indictment comes down shortly. The University of Michigan football team, that's right. And guess who's also going to have his name run through a few background checks in the future? Sharon Moore, the now former football coach for the University of Michigan. He has experienced a, let's say, severe professional and personal collapse in the past couple of days. Now, his tenure, which was quite promising after he succeeded Jim Harbaugh following the 2023 national championship, ended abruptly due to revelations of an extramarital affair with a subordinate. We've talked about this several times. Relationships at the office, they just don't work. All right. It never ends well. I have seen this. You have managers where they're dating somebody and everybody thinks that the person that they're dating gets preference because they're dating the manager or something like that. It just never works out. Usually somebody is married, just like in the case of Coach Moore. And guess what? It all comes down and it's always ugly. And guess what? The University of Michigan probably going to pay out money to this assistant who is engaging in this affair. Mark my words, she will clean up financially from the University of Michigan as well. So how did things happen? What do we know? All right. We know, like I said, Sherrone Moore, he was the football coach. Now, he did lose to Ohio. So maybe this was a reason for him to get booted since he lost to Ohio State the other week and lost the Big 12 championship. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't think so. So what we do know is that apparently Coach Moore had hired a young woman by the name of Paige Shriver. All right. And she was his executive assistant there for the Michigan football program. And it was the daughter of the Chicago Bears executive, Jeff Shiver. So apparently this little extramarital affair began. And Ms. Shriver, who was an employee, then an assistant, got a significant pay raise. She had a 55% increase in her from the original $41,000, getting her close to, I think, some $90,000. And apparently, like I said, she received this pay increase once the extramarital tryst began. Well, she also presented evidence, text, emails, documents to university officials exposing the relationship because apparently there'd been a little speculation that things had been, something had been going on. And then there were allegations that Miss Shiver got pregnant and that Coach Moore was pressuring her to terminate the pregnancy, which apparently she did. As we talked about in yesterday's show, we had the guy shoving the Plan B down his girlfriend's throat, the doctor. And then the other guy that got convicted the other day because his girlfriend wouldn't terminate the pregnancy. So he did what, most people would do. And that would be, oh, yeah, that's right. No, don't do it. But he did. He thought it'd be a good idea to kill his woman that he was having a child with because he didn't want his wife to find out. Well, kind of something similar along the lines here. So where is this going? How did this become criminal, right? Well, apparently, like I said, we got these rumors swirling around about this investigation, about this extramarital affair. People have been talking about it. Apparently, there's been some tensions that were escalating as the football season progressed. Moore exhibited some erratic behavior, berating assistant coaches, apparently, displaying paranoia, thinking that people in Michigan were out to get him. Donors reportedly withheld contributions upon learning of these allegations. And Shiver's salary hike, tied to her role as Moore's executive assistant, fueled speculation of a quid pro quo arrangement amid this ongoing affair. Then, December 8th, preemptive firing. In a desperate bid to contain the issue, Moore fired Shiver from her position. That's where things going to get ugly. This action apparently backfired spectacularly. On September 10th, Shiver provided irrefutable evidence to the university officials, including text messages, emails, and other documents detailing their multi-year affair. Prosecutors later confirmed the relationship had spanned several years. The Board of Regents convened an emergency meeting, leading to Moore's termination for cause around noon on the 10th. This voided most of his remaining, wait for it, $30 million contract buyout. Obviously going to leave him financially devastated, wouldn't you agree? Ooh, I was going to earn $30 million, but I couldn't keep in his pants, and it all went downhill from there. So then what happens? Once again, this is early morning on the 10th. At 4:10, there's an incident at the mistress's apartment. Hours after his firing, Moore allegedly broke a frantic call from Kelly Moore reporting that Sherrone as suicidal en route to confront Shiver. Upon arrival, Moore repeatedly held a knife to his own throat, threatening self-harm while blaming Shiver for destroying his life and career. He alerted. He alternated between accusing her of obsession and professing lingering affection. Fearing for her safety, Shiver barricaded herself. Moore then fled on foot. Police apprehended Moore at a nearby church about 8:30 p.m. He was detained by the Washtenaw County Jail, initially on suspicion of assault. By December 12th, formal charges were filed. Third-degree home invasion, which is a felony, stalking, felony, breaking and entering, which is a misdemeanor, but in most cases that's usually a felony. Bail conditions include no contact with Shiver, mandatory mental health evaluation, and GPS monitoring if released from custody. Prosecutors described the stalking as ongoing for months, involving persistent, unwanted communications post-breakup. Now, of course, the university got to get out there in front of it, right? You know, we're going to continue to investigate it, and they vowed to continue the probe and reinforcing policies reform stemming from prior scandals. Anyway, social media erupted with unconfirmed rumors, including Shiver's alleged pregnancy and Moore's coercion regarding an abortion, claims lacking substantiation. But, so far things need to be looked at with a grain of salt for sure. Anyway, Moore's downfall marks the latest in a series of controversies for the Michigan Athletics Department, including the 2023 sign-stealing saga, for which Mr. Moore served a 3-game suspension, and unrelated leadership scandals. Now, he is one of the few black head coaches in Major League Football, and his case obviously is... some people are going to say it's racially motivated. He didn't get a fair shot. I would say it was completely the other way around, because when his former boss left to go coach in the pros, he was basically given the job, and he screwed it up, and now is facing felony charges, losing out on his $30 million contract that's void now for cause, and he may be a felon. Now, he'll get off on a felony, he won't get a felony or something along those lines, but this just goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, what do we see about all of these cases usually where women end up dead and there's a husband and a lover, these little love triangles never, ever end well. Somebody gets upset, somebody breaks it off, somebody else thinks it's going to last forever, and next thing you know, you got a coach at a major university, losing his job, potentially losing his family life. He is married with 3 daughters. And on top of that, the young assistant who thought it was all fun and games while she was sleeping with the head coach, and then it ended, she held the card, so to speak, to ruin his career. So little practice pointer here: never ends well to date somebody at the office. It's going to end ugly. And when they have all the cards, guess what, Coach Moore? You're going down. All right.